back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I do my brows. As you can see, I've already done my face tapes and my wig caps, so everything is nice and secure. I like to do my brows before I do the rest of my makeup because I really like to get them super clean and precise. And I use my own eyebrows. I'm lucky enough with the shape that I have and with face tape that I don't feel I need to block them out unless I'm doing a really extreme drag look. So let's just get started. I go in first, I need to prep my skin because after I do my brows I will be doing foundation, so I need to make sure that everything is ready to go. So I've shaved, I've cleansed, I've moisturized, and I'm putting on the MAC Prep and Prime. Sometimes I like to use a primer that has a little bit of a tint in it, especially if I'm going for a super tan bronzed look, but I'm not doing that today. So I'm just using my MAC Prep and Prime. I like it, it's a standard. And then once that's in, then we're gonna go in and start sculpting out the brows. The first product that I like to use is Makeup Forever Aqua Brow, and I will put the links for everything that I use in the video down in the description box below. I start by putting a little bit on the top of my hand. This is just, it's a good palette for a makeup artist, the top of your hand. Working the product into the brush, and I just follow my own brow line. Now, I did lose a lot of my brows just over the years. I think it's genetic. So I have had my eyebrows microbladed, which is really nice because I get a really nice shape that looks natural when I'm not wearing makeup, and then it's easy for me to tweak the shape of the brow if I want to change it because I can just cover up the microblading with my full coverage foundation and then paint over that. I can do the whole brow, I can do just the tail if I want, but for today's purposes, I'm going to pretty much follow my own natural brow. I'm just going to make it a little bit more defined, a little bit more exaggerated, which is sort of my standard aesthetic look, that I think that 90s supermodel brow. So having said that, the shape that I try to go for is just that 90s supermodel brow. If you think of Linda Evangelista, it's like two almost straight lines that then arch down. And I like to start on the tail of my brow and then I work in through the center. So taking the Makeup Forever Aqua Brow, I start by really just defining this shape and cleaning it up even more. And I do the bottom, and then I do the top, and then I fill in the center. And I take it, just so you have a nice little point there. I go back to the product on the top of my hand. And this is a Sephora brow brush. It's the angled liner with spoolie. So it's got a flat little angled brush on one side and a little spoolie on the other side. The spoolie is nice too. Sometimes you just need to blend or diffuse a little bit. And then I'm going to start on the bottom. Again, creating a more defined line for my brow. And filling in those areas that still are a little sparse despite the microblading because I do want a more natural look. And so I think it's good to see a little bit of skin through my brow because people who know me know that I don't have really big brows. So if I go in with microblading for my day look, then it looks a little too obvious. And then I just fill that in. There's just like two blocks, two lines that meet, and then you want to make sure that you really get this arch. In the 90s, they really had a point to their brows. Think like Linda Evangelista or Anna Nicole Smith in the guest ads. Everything was just, and I just like that look. It's because I don't do an extreme drag look most of the time. I don't do an extreme brow. So what I do use, or what I do paint on, I like it to be very intentional. All right, the other side. And when you're working, you want to make sure that you hold your brush as perpendicular to your brow as possible. If you come in like this, because it helps you to see better, whatever's on the underside of the brush, you're going to transfer down below here. And although we're going to clean it up, the more makeup you have to clean up, the less seamless your look might be at the very end. Now when you're working on the top, it's okay because that product's just going to transfer onto the brow that you're going to fill in anyway. And you want a nice little tip to the tail. And then fill in that section, and then we go back for more product for the rest of the brow, just repeating what we did on the other side. And I find that if you want to do a softer, more rounded brow, take your product application in one swoop and turn it. But I don't want that. I want more of a severe angle. So I stop my application at the arch. Like that, and then I'll continue it down on the other side just to make sure that I have that nice point. And then we just fill everything in. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to clean it up. But just remember, the better end result you have for each step, then the better your total final result will be. And just make sure we get a little bit of a point in there. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and further define it. I have this Music Flower liquid eyebrow pen that I got from Amazon, and I like it because it's waterproof, but it has these teeny tiny little like microblading edges almost, so it creates more of like a hairline stroke, and these are pretty good. I just want to go in and add a little bit of definition. I don't do the really popular ombre brow. I have, it's nice, it looks great, but again, I really like that 90s supermodel aesthetic to my makeup. So that's what I try to follow. And then with this, just go in and create those hair strokes. It's super easy. Just going in and filling in those extra little bits. And this is slightly darker than the Aqua brow that I use, so it is going to create a sort of tone-on-tone effect, which will give me a more, not natural, but believable looking brow. And then when I'm on the tail, I just come straight down because I don't mind if the tail is a little bit more solid and dark. I think it looks nice and dramatic and slightly on trend for what the drag makeup aesthetic is right now, which I don't follow trends too much. I think it's important to stay current and to evolve your look. But trends are meant to sell things, and they don't always look great on everybody. So play around with them and have fun with them, but decide what your aesthetic is and then just stick to that, because when you're doing what you're most comfortable with, that's when you're going to do your best work. So I just come in and just kind of define that a little bit more. Bring the tail down. And that's about it. And now we're going to go in and clean everything up with concealer in preparation for my foundation application. And I'm using the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. And I take a little bit on my brush. I'm using a flat square brush on my hand. I work it into my hand because my body heat will help to melt the product a little bit and make it smoother and easier to work with. And since this is really kind of more precision work, I'm going to come back in with my hand mirror. And I'm going to come in and just start kind of sculpting out the bottom portion of my brow, cleaning up any little bits and pieces. And then I just bring it down so that it'll be better concealed and blended and worked in once I start with the rest of my makeup application. Just making sure everything is nice and clean and tight, and then bring it down, feather it down, and then you can use your fingertip to even blend it a little bit. And then I'm going to go back in with just a little bit more, and we're going to do the top. just tracing what I've already done to make sure that everything is cleaned up. And just looks really nice and sharp. And then again, I'm just pulling my product up and away from the brow so that when I do the rest of my foundation work, it'll just seamlessly blend in. And if you kind of make the tip of your tail a little blunt like I just did on accident, it's okay, don't panic. Just come in and redo it. And then just make sure that you blend and pull your product away from the brow. Just like that. And then I'm going to go in, dip in with a little bit more product on the top of my hand to warm it up and make it a little easier to work with. Bringing it down again so it looks nice and soft and blended. I don't like my makeup to have any lines. I don't like it when you can look at someone's makeup and you see, oh, they put highlighter or concealer right underneath their brow because you can see the leftover line. So I like everything to be soft and blended. A little bit more product going in on the top. And I'd say if there's one thing that you really want to take your time with, it's your brows, because everybody notices the brows, and I feel like people are really ready to clock you if your brows are off. And we've all heard everybody say, oh, they're sisters or they're cousins, not twins. Yeah, you're absolutely right, but I still feel like I want to get them as close as possible, because I feel like that rule only applies when you're talking about brows that have been altered. But nature doesn't really make the same mistakes that we do. So if I want as natural or as believable as a result, then I really want to try and emulate the way that nature would have made my brows if nature made my brows like this. That. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit here. And then the next step would be to go in with my foundation, primer, and all that stuff. That'll be the next video that I do. But this is how I block out or shape out my brows and then prepare them for the rest of my makeup application. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, bye.